The first time Elias Mercer saw Lyris, she was trying to make herself smaller. That alone was strange, because Lyris was nearly 3 meters tall, her elongated frame wrapped in ceremonial fabric that shimmered like oil on water. Her species, the Valori, were famous across the galaxy for their presence, commanding, radiant, impossible to ignore. Yet here she stood at the edge of the Grand Concord Hall, shoulders hunched, her 4 eyes lowered, her bioluminescent markings dimmed to a dull gray. Elias was new to the station, fresh from Earth and freshly overwhelmed. The Concord was the heart of galactic diplomacy, a place where species measured beauty in symmetry, luminescence, and genetic perfection. Humans were still considered adequate, useful, not remarkable. He was supposed to be observing, not intervening. That was his job as a cultural liaison. Watch, learn, and don't embarrass your planet. But when a group of delegates passed Lyris, and one of them laughed, an insectoid trill sharp enough to draw attention, Elias found himself stopping. "Did you hear?" the delegate whispered, not quietly enough. "She's a defect. A Valori without proper fractal glow. They let anything represent them now." The others snickered and moved on. Lyris didn't look up. She had heard. Elias knew she had. The way her markings flickered, like a dying constellation, told him everything. He hesitated only a moment before approaching. "Hey," he said, the universal translator smoothing his words. "Are you okay?" Lyris startled, straightening abruptly. Her eyes widened when she saw him, then narrowed with something like embarrassment. "You should not address me," she said softly. "I am not suitable company." Elias frowned. "That's not how that works where I'm from." She studied him, confusion evident. "You are human." "Last I checked." Her gaze flicked away. "Then you should not waste your attention on me. I am unpleasant to observe." That stopped him cold. "Unpleasant," he repeated. He looked her over, not with the clinical gaze of a diplomat, but as a man seeing another being. Her markings weren't uniform like other Valori he'd seen, but chaotic, branching in wild, asymmetrical patterns. They shifted subtly with her emotions, alive and expressive. Where others were polished statues, she was art. "Who told you that?" he asked. "My people," Lyris replied. "The galaxy. I lack the harmonic symmetry of beauty. My glow is irregular. My form is wrong." She folded her long hands together. "I am ugly." The word landed heavier than Elias expected. "On Earth," he said slowly, "we have a saying. Different doesn't mean broken." She looked at him again, truly this time. "You do not understand," she said. "Among the Valori, beauty is harmony. I am dissonance." Elias smiled, a small, crooked thing. "Then maybe the song needs changing." Their meetings became frequent after that. Officially, Elias was assigned to assist Lyris with cross-species negotiations. Unofficially, he sought her out. They spoke in quiet observation decks and along the outer promenades where stars drifted like spilled diamonds. Lyris was brilliant. Her mind mapped trade routes and diplomatic probabilities with ease. She spoke 7 galactic tongues fluently and understood cultural nuance better than most ambassadors. Yet every time she entered a chamber, she dimmed herself. "Why do you do that?" Elias asked one cycle, watching her suppress her natural glow before a council session. "Brightness draws attention," she said. "Attention invites judgment." "That's not fair," he muttered. "No," she agreed calmly. "But it is reality." During the council session, Elias watched as delegates interrupted her, spoke over her, or dismissed her proposals, until Elias quietly repeated her ideas, framed through a human lens. Suddenly they listened, Not because the ideas were different, but because the voice was. It made him angry. Afterward, he confronted one of the senior delegates. You ignored her because she doesn't look how you expect a Valori to look. The delegate clicked dismissively. Aesthetic signals competence. It is biological. Elias leaned in. So is bias. The turning point came during the Kairos crisis. A stellar fracture threatened to collapse a trade corridor, destabilizing half a sector. Panic spread. The Concorde demanded solutions, but none came fast enough. Lyris had won. She had spent her life studying irregular systems because she herself was considered irregular. Her mind saw patterns others dismissed as noise. Her plan was risky, unorthodox, and when she presented it, the chamber fell silent. A senior Valori rose. This proposal lacks elegance, he said. It is messy. Lyris's glow dimmed instantly. Elias stood. With respect, he said, his voice carrying, so is survival. All eyes turned to him. You call her solution ugly because it doesn't fit your idea of beauty, he continued. But nature isn't symmetrical. Stars explode. Galaxies collide. Life adapts. Beauty doesn't save us. Function does. A murmur spread. Elias gestured to Lyris. She sees what you can't because she was never allowed to look away from chaos. For the first time, Lyris didn't lower her eyes. The council approved the plan by a narrow margin. It worked. The corridor stabilized. Billions of lives and trillions in resources were saved. And suddenly, everyone wanted to hear from Lyris. Fame was not the kindness Elias hoped it would be. They praised her mind, but still avoided her gaze. They complimented her unique perspective while whispering about her appearance. One cycle, Elias found her alone again, standing before the viewport. They say I am inspiring now, she said quietly. But they still do not call me beautiful. Elias took a breath. Do you need them to? She was silent for a long time. I have believed I was ugly for so long, she said. It shaped every choice I made. Even now, I do not know who I am without that belief. Elias stepped beside her. On Earth, beauty changes every century. Sometimes every decade. People once thought scars were shameful. Now they tell stories. She turned to him. And what do you see when you look at me? He didn't answer right away. I see someone who survived being told she was wrong, he said. Someone who learned to think in ways no one else could. Someone whose light doesn't repeat, it evolves. Her glow flickered, brighter than he had ever seen. You make it sound like a virtue, she whispered. Because it is. The galaxy changed slowly, then all at once. Younger Valori began wearing patterns inspired by Lyris's irregular glow. Scientists cited her theories. Artists replicated her asymmetry in sculpture and light. What was once called ugly became powerful. The Concorde revised its aesthetic bias protocols, largely due to a human-authored proposal that cited Lyris's work as foundational. One day, during a cultural symposium, a young delegate approached Lyris. I was told I would never represent my world, the delegate said, her markings uneven and faint. They said I was flawed. But you... Lyris knelt to meet her eyes. You are not flawed, she said gently. You are unfinished. As we all are. When Elias watched that moment, he realized something profound. He hadn't changed how the galaxy saw Lyris. He had simply refused to look away until others followed. Ending years later, as Earth prepared to join the Concorde as a full member, Elias stood once more in the Grand Hall, older now, lines etched by time and stubborn hope. Lyris stood at the center dais. She no longer dimmed herself. Her glow filled the chamber in wild, radiant patterns that defied symmetry and expectation. Delegates watched in awe, not because they had learned to tolerate her difference, but because they had learned to celebrate it. When she finished her address, the hall erupted, not in polite applause, but in genuine reverence. As the crowd dispersed, Lyris approached Elias. "I once called myself ugly," she said, a soft amusement in her voice. "Do you remember?" He smiled. "I remember disagreeing." She looked out at the stars. "The galaxy still argues about beauty. Perhaps it always will." "Probably," Elias said. "But at least now, it knows it was wrong to be so certain." Lyris turned to him, her light warm and unrestrained. "You changed nothing about me." Elias shook his head. "I didn't have to." She extended a long, luminous hand. He took it. Together, they watched a galaxy learning, slowly, imperfectly, that beauty was never about harmony alone. Sometimes it was about the courage to shine differently. And that was more than enough.